The case of the Boston Brownstone began subtly, a faint, unsettling whisper. My name's Ethan Hale, and I collect the forgotten stories of this city. My own story, however, started in my quiet Beacon Hill apartment. It was late autumn, and the nights grew long, cold, and silent. I remember the first night, a Tuesday, the air crisp and still. I sat reading, an old leather-bound volume resting on my knee.
The only sound previously was the gentle rustle of turning pages. Then I heard it, a soft, deliberate, rhythmic knocking from somewhere. It was a dull, percussive sound, deep within the old building's bones. My gaze drifted slowly towards the solid plaster wall adjacent to my desk. My apartment occupied the entire third floor of the renovated Brownstone. Below me lived Mrs. Albright, a quiet widow with many Persian cats. Above, the attic remained empty, a forgotten space, perpetually locked. The tapping resumed, a steady, measured beat, faint but undeniably present. It held a strange consistency, too regular to be settling timbers. I rose from my armchair, the worn velvet creaking softly beneath me. My steps were slow, deliberate, across the ancient polished hardwood floors. I approached the wall, my hand reaching out, feeling the cool plaster. My fingers pressed against the surface, seeking the source of the vibration. The tapping felt distant, diffuse, emanating from deep within the structure. I leaned my ear against the wall, trying to isolate the exact point. A faint tremor reached my cheek, a subtle pulse against my skin. It wasn't a pipes problem. The rhythm was too distinct, too intentional. I moved away, pondering the sound, my brow furrowed in concentration. Days turned into nights, and the tapping became a persistent companion. It always began after midnight, continuing until the first light of dawn. I started mapping the sound, tracing its perceived origin in my mind. It seemed to come from the shared wall between my living room and hallway. Specifically, it felt anchored around the old fireplace chimney flue. I dismissed it initially, blaming the building's age, a simple quirk. But the rhythm, its relentless, unwavering cadence, began to haunt me. I found myself waiting for it each night, a strange, morbid anticipation. My sleep grew restless, filled with phantom knocking and waking dreams. One night, I sat in the dark, notebook open, meticulously recording the beats. My pen scratched softly on the page, marking long and short intervals. ... dash, 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 ... The pattern emerged. My blood ran cold. The realization hit me like a physical blow. This wasn't random settling. This was communication, deliberate and urgent. It was Morse code. Someone was tapping, reaching out desperately. I scrambled for my old amateur radio guide, a dusty relic. My fingers trembled slightly as I flipped through the coded alphabet. I replayed the sounds in my mind, correlating them with the charts. ... dash, 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 ... SOS, International Distress Signal. A wave of icy fear washed over me, chilling me to my core. Who was trapped inside the walls of my innocuous Beacon Hill Brownstone? How long had them been there, sending their silent, coded pleas? The thought was horrifying, utterly impossible, yet undeniably real. I knew every inch of this building, or so I had always believed. I paced my apartment, heart hammering, mind racing through scenarios. Was it a prank? A deranged squatter? A hidden room forgotten by time? The next night, I was ready. A microphone taped securely to the wall. My laptop recorded every subtle tap, every distinct chilling vibration. I spent hours analyzing the audio, dissecting each individual soundbite. The pattern was undeniable, a clear, desperate plea for help. I started decoding, transcribing letter by agonizing letter onto paper. The first few words were disjointed, garbled, broken by pauses. HELPMEPLEASE came through, clear enough. My hands shook violently, the pen almost slipping from my nerveless fingers. Someone was alive in there, and they were begging for rescue. I called the police, my voice a strained whisper, breath catching in my throat. They were skeptical, naturally, about a man hearing Morse code in his wall. They sent a patrol car, 2 young officers, polite but clearly amused. They knocked on the wall, listened for a moment, heard nothing unusual. The tapping, of course, had stopped the moment they entered the building. It only ever happened when I was alone, when the house was truly silent. I showed them my recordings, the frequency analysis, the decoded messages. They attributed it to structural sounds, imagination, or perhaps old pipes. A common occurrence in these old buildings, sir, the lead officer stated. Perhaps some rest would do you good, Mr. Hale, the other suggested kindly. They left, leaving me alone with my horrifying discovery and my doubts. Was I losing my mind? Was this some elaborate, cruel delusion? But the tapping returned that night, more insistent, more desperate than ever. I pressed my ear to the wall again, not just listening, but feeling. The sound wasn't just in my head. It vibrated through the very plaster. I renewed my vigil, deciphering line after line, sleepless and terrified. The messages grew longer, more coherent, forming actual sentences now. They spoke of darkness, of cold, of utter soul-crushing isolation. It is so dark here. I cannot see anything, ever. The air is thick, dusty. It is hard to breathe, Ethan. My name. How did they know my name? The chilling realization struck. They had heard me talking, pacing, living my life just feet away. They were not just a victim, but a constant silent observer. The horror intensified, a claustrophobic dread suffocating my spirit. I felt watched, even in my own home, a phantom presence so close. The narrative continued, a chilling story of accidental entrapment. A workman, caught during a renovation decades ago, sealed within the chimney. A terrible accident, unnoticed, forgotten, his cries unheard. He had survived on rainwater, on scraps, on the sheer will to exist. But time had eroded his hope, his sanity, leaving only despair. His physical form by now must be terribly withered near death. The code now shifted, the rhythm slowing, each beat a painful effort. The messages grew weaker, less frequent, almost a dying gasp. I am so tired, Ethan, so weak. I cannot go on. Then came the message that twisted my stomach into a knot of ice. It was not a plea for rescue anymore. It was something far more sinister. I beg you, Ethan, please, end it. End this torture. A plea for death. From within my wall, a voice asked me to kill them. Break down the wall, free me, or let me finally die. The final message, a long, agonizing pause, followed by 3 last taps. Plea, then silence. An absolute, heavy, terrifying silence. The tapping never returned, not a single sound. Only the silence remained. The silence was worse, far worse, than the most desperate, chilling plea. I stood there for hours, frozen, staring at the impassive plaster surface. My mind reeled, grappling with the unthinkable request, the horrifying truth. Was I supposed to tear down my wall and find a decaying corpse? Or release a tortured, half-mad spirit, desperate for release? The image of the trapped man, withered in darkness, haunted my every thought. I felt the weight of his final request, a burden I could not escape. My quiet apartment became a tomb, his final resting place, my prison. I couldn't live there anymore, knowing what lay just inches from me. But I couldn't leave him either, not with that final, desperate message. The police wouldn't help. No one would believe my impossible story now. So, I made a choice, a horrifying decision born of pure desperation. I went to the hardware store, buying heavy tools and thick tarpaulins. I would face this alone, unearth the horror, and fulfill his last wish. The Brownstone now holds a different secret, one only I truly know. Sometimes, in the dead of night, I still hear faint phantom taps.
They echo in my mind, a chilling reminder of the man in the wall. And I remember the silent pact I made, a secret buried deep within. My hands still ache from the work, the memory of what I found. The Brownstone stands silent now, its secrets truly, finally, at peace.